Everyone on Earth knows about America. Pretty much anyone can tell you the basics. Beacon of democracy for the free world. Imperialist power dominating the globe. That's all them. Their history isn't even that long. 200-300 years tops went from a British colony to a superpower. This time I'm putting in the work, breaking down American history piece by piece, to really dig into how America came to be and how it got so powerful. American History 101, Episode 1. Columbus comes from Europe. The Americas are a whole new world. About 20,000 years ago, Earth's climate was still pretty cold, and sea levels were low. What's now the Bering Strait was actually dry land. The Eurasian and North American continents were connected. Back then, humans were basically in the Stone Age. Pretty primitive. Didn't farm, just hunted. Chasing woolly mammoths wherever they went. Some Asian primitive humans followed their prey right into the Americas. These people became the indigenous peoples of the Americas. 10,000 years later, things warmed up. Sea levels rose, and the Americas got separated from Eurasia. During all this time, the Americas developed some pretty impressive civilizations, like the Maya, Aztec, Inca, and so on. Pretty advanced for their time. But the Americas weren't connected to anything, just doing their own thing. This created a problem. American civilizations had zero contact with other civilizations on Earth. Over in Eurasia and Africa, things were hopping. Everyone's neighbors, different peoples competing, exchanging ideas, learning from each other, pushing each other forward. You don't advance, you get wiped out, or you get assimilated, forced you to progress. So American civilizations developed kind of slower compared to everywhere else, especially North America. Just a bunch of small tribes, different languages, cultures, and lifestyles. Everyone doing their own thing, sticking to their own turf, living in harmony with nature. This went on for thousands of years. Meanwhile, Europe was developing fast, especially after the 15th century, when they got into seafaring. The peaceful life of America's indigenous peoples was over. We've all heard about Columbus, discovering the New World. But actually, before Columbus, another group of Europeans had already been to the Americas, the Vikings from Northern Europe. These Vikings had a nickname, Norse pirates. You know, big beards, messy hair, helmets, with those two big horns sticking out. Though archaeology proves their helmets didn't actually have those horns. Archaeology also proves that 500 years before Columbus discovered the New World, a group of Vikings had already been to North America, near what's now Newfoundland, Canada. But these Vikings didn't get along with the local indigenous people. Kept fighting, so they didn't stay. Just went back home. 500 years later, Europe entered the Age of Exploration. One main purpose of seafaring was to import spices from India. Back then, they didn't have refrigerators. The meat wasn't very fresh. Had to use spices to cover up the nasty smell. Otherwise, couldn't even swallow it. So spices were essential goods, hard currency. The spice trade used to go through the Indian Ocean and Mediterranean route. But then that route got cut off, because the Ottoman Empire rose to power in between. The Ottoman Empire was Islamic, and had beef with European Catholic countries. Totally incompatible. This forced Europeans to take to the seas. First, it was the Portuguese sailing around Africa's Cape of Good Hope. To reach India, pretty massive detour. Now Columbus, he was Italian, also wanted to do seafaring. But his plan was pretty forward-thinking. By then, Europeans already knew Earth was a sphere, but had no idea how big it was. So Columbus thought about it. Earth is round. India's to the east. So if I just keep sailing west, shouldn't I reach India too? This way, I wouldn't have to go all the way around Africa. The idea was solid, but Columbus didn't have anything. Just a startup pitch, needed a country to invest in him. Maybe this guy's demands were too high. Wanted titles and commission and all that. Hit up several countries, couldn't make a deal. Took a lot of effort. Finally, Spain agreed. So the Italian Columbus leading a Spanish fleet set sail. Calling it a fleet was really just 3 little sailing ships, 80 or 90 people. The fleet sailed west for over 2 months. Finally spotted land. A small island in Latin America. Columbus was thrilled. Oh my God, finally made it to India. Look, there's even people here. Everyone look. These are Indians. And so Indians became the collective term for America's indigenous peoples, translated as Native Americans or Indians. Everyone here was called Indians. But actually, if you break down Native Americans, you could distinguish at least 100 different groups, all with different languages and cultures. Columbus and the Spanish fleet went to the Americas several times, established several colonies, and even became governor of the colonies. But later this guy got reported for brutal tyranny, corruption, and mismanaging the colonies into chaos. Plus, the place he went wasn't even Asia. Look at the Portuguese bringing back spices from Asia and silk. What did Columbus bring back? Just junk. So Columbus got stripped of his governorship. Columbus wasn't having it. Petitioned the Spanish king, no way. Let me make one more trip. If that place isn't Asia, then I'll sail through and keep going west. Now we all know from looking at maps, North and South America are connected. Can't get through it all. Columbus put in a ton of effort, made the whole trip but couldn't get through, went back to Spain, super depressed. 2 years later, he died of illness. Right up until he died at 54, he still believed the place he went was Asia. Later, there was this guy named Amerigo, also Italian, also into seafaring. This dude carefully surveyed the Americas and figured this place definitely wasn't Asia. It was a new continent. So he wrote up his findings into 2 letters and mailed them back. Later, these 2 letters got published and went viral. Everyone was spreading the word. Did you know that place to the west is a whole new continent, really? Oh my gosh. Who told you that? That guy Amerigo said so. Later, when a German guy was drawing a map, he found out. There's a new continent to the west, gotta draw it in. What should I name it? Hey, I'll use that guy Amerigo's name, America. From then on, this continent was called America. The name America was given by Europeans, but as the true owners of this continent, the Native Americans who'd lived on this land for generations had already named all the different places. Many of America's current place names were left by Native Americans, like Chicago, Detroit, Manhattan, Texas, Mississippi, Arizona. All of them, of course. For Europeans and Americans, the key figure who discovered America was still Columbus. Columbus first reached the Americas. On October 12, 1492, later October 12th became a federal holiday in America, Columbus Day, with celebrations held every year. Later it got changed to the second Monday of October. This way it connects with Sunday for a long weekend. No need to shuffle days off. But in modern times, a lot of indigenous people, meaning Native Americans, aren't happy. Why commemorate Columbus? Discovered a new continent. Our ancestors were living here just fine. What do you mean, discovered? These Native Americans are so pissed, mainly because Columbus is seen as a pioneer of a new era by Westerners. But in Native American eyes, he was the source of disaster. Ever since this guy showed up, these European whites really messed us up bad. After the Spanish arrived in the Americas, they grabbed lots of colonies, mainly for mining. There were gold and silver mines there. They captured Native Americans as slaves to do the work. Anyone who resisted got killed. Back then, European firearms weren't that powerful. Compared to Native American bows, arrows, and spears, the advantage wasn't huge. But Europeans carried the smallpox virus. They'd been dealing with smallpox for centuries and had built up immunity, but Native Americans didn't have that. Once they caught smallpox, whole populations died off. Originally, the Americas probably had tens of millions of Native Americans. After Europeans arrived, mass slaughter plus smallpox almost wiped out Native Americans completely. Also, when Europeans came over, they brought wheat, sugarcane, pigs, horses, cattle, and sheep. None of these existed in the Americas before. When they went back to Europe, they brought lots of American specialties, like tobacco, potatoes, corn, peanuts, sweet potatoes, tomatoes, and such. All came from the Americas. The circulation of these items brought huge changes to people's lives worldwide. People gave this event a name, the Columbian Exchange. Anyway, ever since Columbus brought the Spanish over, Native Americans had it rough. But Spain grabbed tons of colonies there. Got lots of good stuff, especially gold and silver, absolute tons. They got rich overnight. Spain became a maritime superpower. Other European countries got jealous. Also started thinking about seafaring to grab their share, especially England.